Released 1 year after Death to Spies, Death to Spies Moment of Truth is the kind of sequel that follow the same formula as the first game, and try to modernize little things here and there in order to make for a better experience. So much so that I could maybe consider Death to Spies as a beta for the second game, but things aren't so simple. Both games do not exactly do things the same way, and I believe there is a different experience awaiting people in both games, which is mostly about how masochistic you feel today. Let's take some time to progress through each mission together and see what it is all about. Slight reminder that it probably would be better to have played or seen my video about the first game, since I will mention things about it. There will also be spoilers, the first one being in a few seconds, but honestly, nobody plays either of these games for the story. As you can see, the story follows the event of the first game, although very loosely. Do not expect any big answer about the ending of the first game, you will be disappointed. It was all a dream, or maybe something that happened, but all the facts lead to Semyon surviving that encounter. Cutscenes are much shorter and more interesting than they used to be, and therefore, we'll watch them all. The missions we'll be going through in this game happened roughly at the same time period as those of the first game, between 1943 to 1946. Lastly, we'll also play every single mission on hard difficulty, which is the second hardest difficulty of the game below Saboteur, which will prevent us from using any disguise, but instead grant us more firepower, so I decided against it. For example, playing through the first mission on Saboteur difficulty would allow us to select a few more weapons, most notably the Silent Sniper, which is completely broken, as you've probably seen in the review of the first game already. The difference between easy, medium and hard isn't exactly clear to me. I know that the guards are much more reactive on hard, that's for sure, but it is written on the tooltip that we require to stun or strangle enemies to possibly take on their cloth, which is true, but killing a guy with a gun on easy or normal doesn't allow us to take on their cloth either. So I have no idea what it is all supposed to mean, and I just decided that if the only difference is the guard's reaction time and the amount of tips I'd receive, then I'd rather go for hard. Our first mission is called Lightning, and unlike the first Death to Spies, it isn't gonna be the easiest mission of the game, oh boy. Death to Spies Moment of Truth also completely lacks any tutorial, so for anybody jumping directly on this one, be ready for a rough hour or two. Now, this mission will require us to do a few things. Capture a pilot of a new rocket-powered plane. There are only 2 of them in the base and we'll have to identify them first. Then we'll also have to disable the radar and call in the recon squad. If we're feeling extra generous, we can also complete the secondary objective that require us to capture a mechanic. Last thing about the briefing, we'll still be playing as Semyon Strogov, like we did in the first game, but he will answer to the codename Agent Zolotnitsky during all of this game. And now is the time to select our weapons. There are a few little changes. First of all, we'll have the choice between 2 silenced pistols, sometimes 3. We only had access to 1 in the first game. The pistol from the first game is still there, but it's not anymore the recommended choice, and I have to say that I didn't even try it, as the new pistol has more bullets in the magazine, although I suspect that it is less powerful overall. The second biggest change is that we'll be offered a silenced rifle in every mission. I am gonna be honest and say that I never found it to be useful, but if you're willing to kill, that gun will make sure that your wish comes true. We'll also be able to equip ourselves with a German backpack in pretty much every mission, which is insanely valuable and will become a key component of the gameplay that I'll explain later. All the rest is mostly the same. There are still explosives, sedatives, binoculars, etc. Oh yeah, there is a new appearance for the knife, if that counts as anything new. That mission will start in the wild, close to a German patrol consisting of 2 grunts, reminding you of something? Yeah, the first game started the same way. We'll kill the first guy with our knife, up close and personal, and strangle the second one with our garrote. This isn't a pacifist run, boys. Now we'll take the outfit of the guy we garroted, and then we'll take the car and drive on the road to the airport. It is important to remain on the road, as there is a surprise for the bold. See? Yeah, it's mined everywhere around. Driving control mostly like it did in the first game, which means relatively well, outside of a few camera issues, and breaks that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. It isn't really an important part of the game anyway. Getting inside the airport is the easy part. What's incoming is gonna be slightly harder. Now, I know that I've been talking a lot about game mechanics here and there, and that we still didn't progress at all, but it is, I believe, mandatory that you understand how the game is played, to get a solid grasp of everything we'll be doing. The second game offers 2 major improvements compared to the first one. First of all, the movements were improved and the sneaking stance was removed. We'll still have the standing, crouching and crawling stance, with the possibility to either run or walk, but this time, we'll simply crouch and walk whenever we want to subdue an enemy without making noise, which makes us so much faster and feels so much better to do. Often, in the first game we were kinda forced to run toward the enemy and hope to take them by surprise fast enough. That's no longer the case here. The second improvement is about the disguise system. When we played the first game, the enemies could have 2 different stances towards us. They could be green and wouldn't see through our disguise, or red and we had to avoid them like the plague, or they would recognize us in a matter of seconds. Well, the second game had a third stance with the color yellow. That stance is, as you probably guessed, a mix between green and red. In this stance, enemies won't be aggressive, they won't act weirdly, and will continue what they were doing. But we'll get a small gauge filling up as we are within their field of vision that could transform them into a red stance enemy. Often, red stance enemies will first tell us to leave the area and that we have nothing to do here before shooting. Which makes sense when you think about it, unless you're living within a society of hungry psychopaths. Enemies can also change their stance depending on which area of the map we are in. Some enemies will be green or yellow when we are in a relatively open area, but will turn yellow or red when our disguise become more inadequate. Needless to say that both these changes are great and change a bit the dynamic of the game. In the first game, we used to crawl a lot to avoid being seen by guards that could see through our disguise. We had no other choice as the disguise could only carry us so far. Here, we'll be more often standing around, sometimes crouching. It is more about finding the right disguise, the right timing, and walk where we have to go. Basically, it's not necessarily better, it's a different formula more in line with what the game aimed to be, a social stealth game. Now, back to the mission. See that door? We'll have to lockpick it, but we need to do so when the guard nearby doesn't look our way. That eye icon in the middle, slightly on the top of the screen, is telling us whether someone is looking our way or not. Very useful, and we should never attempt to lockpick if it's there. Only when it is fading or completely gone should we attempt the deed. Behind this door, we'll find a new set of clothes that will help us, but different set of clothes allow access to different parts of the map. There isn't really a disguise that will automatically allow us to go everywhere, unfortunately. Lightning is a pretty big map, with many small environmental interactions that aren't always easy to guess. It also requires us to be bold to find ways to complete the mission, which might be hard for newcomers. For example, by finding these clothes, we get a very small cutscene that gives us a hint of where to go to do something. Maybe in easy and normal difficulty it's explained better, but it was so brief that I could not see what I had to do, and therefore I didn't do it. What we were supposed to do was driving that truck to the mechanic depot, and it would have offered us an opportunity with them. There is a doctor office nearby, and we'll grab some laxative from there. It will be useful later on. With our new outfit, we'll have access to the main building. We'll go there and execute a poor chap in the toilets. Our goal here is to find a way to identify the pilots. As I failed for the next 30 minutes to progress, I discovered that the developers added melee combat, either with our fist, knife, or even with the cross of a gun. We are not anymore a sitting duck if someone sees us at the last second. We'll bait another guard in the toilets, but this time by using the whistle that we failed to use properly in the first game. We are getting better, dudes. The next step will involve us killing 2 more guards and hiding their bodies as well as we can. Because, as you can see, there are huge windows leading outside, and that guy there would probably not like to see us carry his bodies filled with bullet holes to the toilet room. We'll find an outfit in one of the rooms we'll explore, as well as the files giving us the identity of the 2 pilots. One of them doesn't move and stand in front of the building where we just killed a few people. He's talking about an oil tanker, and I have no clue if there is a way to bait him into a trap. We'll give up on that one, since kidnapping him in broad daylight doesn't seem like a very wise career plan. Luckily, the other one is a real globetrotter. He'll even venture alone into a warehouse, to our greatest delight. We subdue him and hide him into a box. Yeah, we just have to make sure he leaves and subdue him. We are not gonna have to take him out of the base, like what we did in the first game. So it's a pretty easy target, all things considered. As we explore the airport, we'll find something that will need to be dealt with. Anti-air guns. A new objective has been added. I suppose nobody thought that an airport serving as a military base would have anti-air defenses, right? Well, good old Semyon is there to make sure that the work is done. Now, we'll also capture a mechanic, but things won't go very smoothly. These 3 guys never leave each other's, and it's a secondary objective, so they won't have the luxury of us trying to be subtle. We shoot 2 of them and subdue the last, as he's running for his life trying to warn his friends that some dude is out there running after him with a bottle of chloroform. Nobody ever goes into that warehouse, so we'll just leave them be, and go on our way to the anti-air guns. The first one will be done sneakily. We'll crouch through and put some acid on the anti-air gun. The second one is located close to a pot, probably filled with stew. We'll put a whole bottle of laxative in order to get these guys out of the area. We can now deal with the second anti-air gun and head to the radar tower. We'll distract the first guard by cutting the fuel line, sneak our way in, and yeah, we'll kill him. The second one will be coming back, and we'll kill him too, because I doubt he will be willing to strike us a deal and act like nothing happened. We shut down the radar, but it is timed. We have 50 minutes to call the recon squad or the radar will be back online. Luckily, we've done everything before calling them. We'll trap the door with a grenade before leaving, because we can, and also because it is the only time I've used that mechanic. Trapping bodies is also a possibility, if you're into these kind of things. I'm kinda vanilla about it, so I only do doors. There are many ways to call the recon squad. One of them is to go out in the wild and find our contact waiting for us. Or we can simply use the German radio, which as you can imagine won't be granted to us. So we'll have to kill once more to get access to it. Time to go to the rallying point and escape. There won't be any cutscene, with planes or troops attacking the airport, which is pretty disappointing but not unexpected. Death to Spies was always running on a low budget, and it probably would have been a lot of work for little result.
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through day, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
Dinner is ready.
Georgia, Georgia,
I'm waiting.
the song of you comes as soft and clear as the moonlight through the pine.
The second mission of the game is called King's Riddle, and it is simply the hardest mission in the entire game, and you'll soon see why. Our goal will be to steal the cipher machine Enigma inside a submarine, find the cipher book inside the radio operator room, obtain the schematics for self-guided acoustic torpedoes T5 Soin-Konik codename Ren in the captain private quarters, and finally sabotage one of these torpedoes to detonate early. I hope Semyon is being paid handsomely for all that work, because love of the nation can only get you so far. I know, he's a communist, and therefore, to put it bluntly, doesn't get shit. Ladies, find a man that look at you like Semyon looks to the USSR. That mission will start in a very hostile area. Nobody wants us any good here, but we'll quickly get an opportunity. The dude touching the door of the truck in a very strange manner will be our ticket out of adversity. We'll garrote him for the simple and only reason that we want to. Hiding his body will be quite easy, since one of his fellow soldiers seems to be so focused on his task that he attained partial blindness. We'll then follow a patrol upstairs and wait for them to cross the door to gun down a bothersome guard. Time to sneak into that room and close the door behind us. But we're not alone. There is a worker in this room. He just didn't realize yet that we fried his body. We'll wait that he operate the console and subdue him to take his outfit. We'll hide both bodies behind the grating. We can now sabotage the console in order to bring an engineer to us, which might be useful to grab his disguise. While doing so, I had to reload cause I faced a bug where the engineer was stuck behind his chair and couldn't move. Pretty janky, as always. Anyway, reloading fixed that bug and everything was fine. Before leaving this area, we'll wait that the patrol leave to check if there is something interesting in the warehouse nearby. We'll attempt to cut the throat of a guard, but things will not go as planned, and a fight will ensue. We'll stab the guard multiple times, he'll fire at us once, but we'll miss. Following that, another guard in front of the door will enter to see what's happening in there. We'll throw our knife in his chest to make sure that no one else hears about the time where Semyon nearly had an entire garrison chasing after him. We'll find the wire cutter in that warehouse, and while none of these guards were hostile to begin with, sometimes we have to be the hostile one. Going down the stairs, we'll find another lonely guard, close to a box. Yeah, I just couldn't resist. Let's now go back to the room where we ambushed that engineer. We'll open the grating and crawl until we find stairs leading to a room where we can shut down the power in 2 other rooms. We'll shut down the power to the hall to bait a soldier that we'll subdue. We'll then take his outfit and sneak into that room to enter another grating leading to the captain's private quarters. As we enter the room, a guard will come in to check on the radio. Usually we will short-circuit the radio in order to get rid of him. But I didn't know, and went for the good old way, a punch in the face. We'll then open the door to meet another guard with hostility. This one won't be as lucky, since we'll use a bullet to get him out of our way. Now that we've cleaned the hallway, we'll go in the opposite room to obtain the plans for the T5 schematics. We'll also poison the wine of the captain, which is completely unnecessary, but nobody forbids us from doing it either. One last cigar for the captain, and then he'll go down. Now, time to get out of here and go for the radio operators. There is a guard smoking in the stairs close by, and you know the saying, smoking kills. And it happens that Semyon too. Having both in the same place is such bad luck that nothing else could happen. We'll whistle to bait another guard and slay him. There are 5 radio operators, and we need to get rid of all of them to get that cipher book. The good news is that we just killed the first one of them, 5 seconds ago. The next one will be gunned down with our silencer, and then quickly moved away before anybody sees him. Since the 3 remaining guards are so close to each others, and that there is nobody around, I thought that I would try to see if grenades and loud guns were buffed in this game, and could be of any use. But every time I've tried, it failed due to the enemies hearing the noises. Maybe I just did execute it poorly, but it seems obvious to me that explosives and everything that doesn't have a silencer on it remain very niche in the second game. Since it felt impossible to kill these 3 enemies without ringing the alarm this way, I opted for a different approach. We'll go back to the previous room where we cut the power to the hole and baited a soldier. We'll then cut the power to the hole again, but this time sneak inside the room where all the soldiers were to enter the grating. This grating leads downstairs to the radio operator room, and from there we'll have a much better chance at surprising them. We'll wait that one of them leave to gun down the two others. Now we quickly have to hide the two bodies in the grating and hide with them, and when the last one comes back, he'll face the same fate. Only one bullet left in the magazine. We'll reload but pick up our magazine from the ground, just in case. We never know if we'll end up being one bullet too short. We finally have the cipher book, and can now head to the submarine area. To reach the submarine area, we'll go back to the beginning of the map, just before we follow the patrol upstairs, and instead go the other way. Here, we'll sneak into a room, activate a pump, and finally, go down a hatch. This area is normally flooded with water, and we only have 5 minutes before the pump is being deactivated again, but that will be plenty of time. As we progress, we'll face a fence, and that's where our wire cutter will prove to be useful. At the end of the flooded area, there will be a ladder leading to the submarine area. In case you wonder what would happen if we were to stay there once the pump is deactivated, well, we'd simply die. Semyon might be a master spy, but he's no swimmer. We'll open the door leading out of the tunnel and see someone that will subdue to take his disguise. We'll also throw him into the flooded tunnel to see if he's a better swimmer than Semyon. We'll quickly realize that to get on board of the submarine, we'll need to find a mechanical engineer disguise. But before we go find one, we'll first complete our secondary objective. The torpedo has very little security around it, and we'll tamper with it while nobody is watching too closely. To find the disguise we need, we'll follow a mechanical engineer in a locked room. He doesn't seem too bothered by it. We'll wait that he leaves and take the outfit on the bed. We are now ready to go, but we need to lockpick the door before we can escape. You know, the kind of problems you often face when you enter places you shouldn't be in. Now the doors to the submarines are open for us. Everything won't be easy though. There is a guard patrolling inside the submarine, and he is quite bothersome, to put it lightly. You probably are getting used to my methods already, and now that this guy won't live to see tomorrow. And while we're at it, we'll also kill the cleaning boy close by, because he will see us, and that's bothersome. We'll grab a permit from a bedroom, and quickly snatch the cipher machine Enigma before fleeing. To leave this area, guards want to search our backpack, and as you can imagine, it wouldn't be very great if they were to realize that we're leaving with the cipher machine. I could only guess that it will make them quite upset. That's why we stole a permit before, as it will allow us to skip the frisk. We'll run back to where we came from, and it's time to get out of there.
Sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
One more man to look in my eyes and see death staring back at him. One more on the pile. How many have died in this war? How many bastards have sold their country only to rot in their graves? And who's next?
The third mission is called Whitehead. We'll be tasked with meeting with an informer, killing a German general, and killing a Soviet courier that might have betrayed us. All of that on a very open map, but most of the objectives are concentrated in a mansion on a small area. Now, the briefing mentioned that we should be sure that the courier is a traitor before getting rid of him, but I never saw any mention of that, and you know, better safe than sorry, I guess. The informer will be found very quickly. He'll give us another objective to complete. The Germans are destroying important documents that they apparently mistake for nothing of value. We need to find a way to recover what's left of them. Close to the informer is a building with a civilian outfit that we'll gladly take. Semyon has a bad habit of going to most missions with an outfit that screams, "Hello, comrade, I'm a Soviet spy." That's the closest to Russian I can sound. Sorry. After exploring for a while, we'll find a German soldier sleeping in a barn. We'll punch him and take his clothes. Now, you'll maybe see one of the downside of the new disguise system. Downside is a big word, to be completely honest, as it's really not that. It's more like a new possibility that you may or may not decide to use. It's also gimmicky and hard to replicate with 100% accuracy. As I was struggling to find an opening, I went in, like an idiot running everywhere, until I found a door. Guards were almost all yellow, but since none of them had the time to take a good look at me, I wasn't unmasked. Usually I will restart and do it properly, but since I felt like it is unique and fits perfectly into what the second game allowed to do, I decided to keep it and continue. Obviously, this kind of thing would be impossible to do in the first Death to Spies. We'd be shot down like a duck in open season before even crossing the first room. Let's now go back from the door we went in, and follow a worker in the room opposite of ours. His fate, you know it already. We'll steal his clothes, he won't need them anymore. We'll now follow a waiter to the wine cellar, and stab him. There is a waiter outfit waiting for us nearby. We'll then take the breakfast meant for the courier and bring it to his room. There, a guard won't leave us alone, but weirdly enough, he won't mind that we add something to the wine. It is due to us having the waiter disguise. We can freely tamper with food without having to worry about the consequences. There is a silenced pistol on the shelf, which could be useful. But I can tell you that the time it would take for us to take out our gun, the guard already would have shot 2 or 3 times and alerted all the mansion, maybe even the whole country. So we'll forget about that idea. Instead, we'll see a disguise on the bed, and if changing disguise in front of him is obviously forbidden, we'll be saved by a new mechanic that was added to the game, and that will allow us to pick up the disguise and put it in our backpack. This mechanic is available since the very first mission, with the only requirement that we have a backpack, but since there is no tutorial in this game, it took me a while to learn about it. It is obviously another mechanic, making the game easier, but also making it slightly deeper, as we can always have up to 2 disguises on us, one that we wear and one in our backpack. It is fortunately not possible to store 5 disguises in our backpack, otherwise it would make the game absolutely and utterly boring. Now, time to change to the outfit we've stolen, but only after finding a place where none will see us. We keep the waiter outfit as well, just in case. As we climb the stairs and continue our mission, Ivan Melnik, the courier, will die drinking the poison wine, and since the guard only checks the room whenever there is a guest, he won't be found before we are long gone. We are now in the attic to switch the water boiler off. The German general, Gerd Richter, will send his bodyguard to check on the problem, and after a while lose patience as he doesn't come back. What he doesn't know is that his bodyguard is already long gone, and that death is now breathing down his neck too. We can now go back outside and order the workers slacking around the truck to pick up the documents inside the mansion and load them inside the truck. I guess we could also do it ourselves, but they are much quicker. Once they are done loading the truck, we'll drive it back to the informer and leave him the keys to the vehicle before running to the escape point.
What does this guy have to do with him, I wonder?
The fourth mission is called Dora. Yeah, I know. It probably has some hidden meaning that I'm unaware of. Or maybe the devs were a big fan of Dora the Explorer, which I sincerely doubt, to be honest. On the contrary to previous missions, that one is played on a very small map, and won't be against Nazi Germany, but the Allies. We'll be tasked with recovering a briefcase with secret documents inside, kill the Professor Thomas Shefferd, responsible for deciphering the Soviet codes, and plant discrediting documents to hide the true reason behind his death. This mission is quite unique, in the sense that there are a lot of scripted events that will happen independently of us. We'll arrive at the same time as American agents, tasked to retrieve the documents from British agents, and if we're too slow, they might just escape with the documents, which is only half true, as they really take their time, and toward the end, the briefcase carrier will have a massive headache and rest a bit at the doctor's office. Still, this mission will often be restarted, as we learn how the important actors move around the map, and as we try different things to seize opportunities. So let's begin. The mission will start with a British soldier telling the American agent that the colonel is waiting for them. They'll then be welcomed inside. there isn't much we can do about this. Later on, we'll see a small cutscene where someone is bringing a briefcase to the warehouse. We'll sneakily follow the employee carrying it and subdue him to take it. Don't get high hopes yet, this is an empty briefcase, but we'll take it with us still. We'll then learn that the Professor Shefferd is notorious for asking other people for smokes. We'll follow and subdue the Good Samaritan. We'll also steal his disguise and his pass, since it will allow us to reach an important area that we couldn't access before. The American agents should now be in possession of the briefcase, but the British colonels still have to update them about their current progress. We'll use our newfound pass to follow them in, and when the briefcase carrier eventually go to the toilet, we'll swap our empty briefcase with the real one. Now is the time to go back to where the professor usually smokes, to give him one last good cigarette. There is one thing you need to know. Before starting the mission, when we were choosing our starting equipment, we had one unusual choice, the poison cigarettes. You now know why the professor is about to drop dead. Unfortunately, killing the professor this way leads to a bug that prevents us from searching him, which means that we won't obtain the keys to his office. Lockpicking his office without killing anybody would prove to require some serious dexterity and speed that I unfortunately do not possess. Therefore, we'll start murdering random soldiers in the toilets, 4 of them to be precise. This way, I am able to tell you that very much like the last mission of the first game in the British Embassy, this mission doesn't tolerate more than 4 innocent casualties before failing. We'll just subdue the 2 remaining guards to be safe, which doesn't count toward the casualties, and now that the hallway is clear, we can lockpick the door and plant the discrediting documents. Time to get out of here.
Ah, what a joke. While you're working, you think only of duty. You know, the only thing to hope for is a quick death. Here at 5 in the morning, this idiot's coming to apologize to his girlfriend. She's gonna sack him anyway, that's for sure. Ha. Nice present.
These cutscenes really help us understand more about what kind of man Semyon is, even though the cheesy voice acting probably doesn't help take it seriously. I'm gonna be honest, and say that I quite like it still. Yes, it's a bit goofy, but there is a charm to it. Maybe playing the game with Russian voices would make it better?
Смешно. Вот, работаешь, думаешь о своем долге, понимаешь, что остается только ждать быстрого конца. А этот псих в 5 утра караулит подругу, которая наверняка пошлет его куда подальше. Такой вот, ядрить его, подарок.
I do not understand Russian, but it sounds better to me. Although, as I said before, I think English is fine. Let's just appreciate the goofiness where we can find it. We'll come back to English for the next cutscenes, as it's easier for people to not have to read anything. But if you ever play the game yourself, you may now have a better idea of which language to choose. The next mission is called Polish Surprise, and we are back against the Nazis. We'll have to intercept a cipher text incoming to the radio operator, and put explosives inside 3 warehouses. But before that, we need to find the information about the structure of the castle. All of that in a pretty small map consisting of a castle and its courtyard. We'll start our mission inside the castle with enemies surrounding us. We'll use a smoke bomb to bait the hallway guard into the starting room, and subdue him this way. We'll then discover that the room opposite of us was full of sleeping soldiers and had an outfit ready for us to take. We have 2 ways to get out of there. The stairs, but there are a lot of soldiers and we could be easily discovered, or that door that we have to lockpick. We'll obviously wait until nobody sees us to lockpick the door and gain access to the courtyard this way. Here, we'll quickly find a cache with the information about the architectural layout of the castle, and therefore complete one of our objectives. We'll now enter the castle again, but this time we'll go for the east wing, and we won't use a door, but a window. We'll subdue an enemy, take his outfit, and hide him inside a box. We are now close to the radio room, and as we get close to the door, we see that the operator just received the cipher text, which is most likely scripted to happen when we first reach the room. Now, we are not authorized to enter that room and won't be able to progress further. Unfortunately, the radio operator will now be on his way to inform an officer about his discovery, and once again, we won't be able to do anything about it. Let's head the other way. There will be some random chap holding the door to the basement, but we'll dig a bullet in his skull. 2 other guards will be found downstairs in the basement, and we'll subdue both of them. In the basement, we'll find the first of the 3 spots where we have to plant explosives, but unfortunately, we didn't find them yet. As we continue on our way, killing happily everything slightly out of sight from anybody else, we'll have another cutscene showing us that the ciphertext is now held in a safe. It won't move from there anymore, and we'll need to find a way to get it. We'll eventually reach the armory of the castle and find a ton of rifles that we won't pick up as they are no more than junk for us. There will also be the second explosive spot, but we still lack the explosive as they aren't here either. If we were to climb up the stairs even more, we'd find a garrison of soldiers standing there. These are no real threat to us, but there is way too many of them for us to start picking a fight with them. We'll need to look somewhere else. Let's head back to where we started the mission, and head to the stairs to see if we can find anything. We'll notice a locked door tightly guarded, but we'll somehow manage to lockpick it. We'll find another disguise in there, at first glance a general outfit that will make the mission a breeze, but no, that outfit will not offer us much more cover than we already have. It is sometimes difficult to really see how effective a disguise will be at first glance, and the only way to really know is to check how the enemies behave with us. In this case, we are definitely not wearing a general uniform, I can assure you that. The star of the show is that permit allowing us to enter a warehouse. I didn't mention it yet, but there is a warehouse that we're forbidden to enter in the courtyard. Maybe that permit is the key to enter? Once again, it isn't the case. The warehouse linked to the permit is the area leading to the rifle armory, where we did kill many people already. There is an area inside the castle where only workers are allowed in, so we'll subdue one of them close to the stable, take his outfit, then follow a colleague inside, because we do not possess the keys, but once again, that room will offer nothing of value. By scripting the level this way, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of the experience that awaits people playing for the first time a level of Death to Spies Moments of Truth. Why it can be difficult, but also interesting. There are so many areas that require us to think to find ways to reach them. It feels satisfying to finally see what's inside, and ultimately, there is often a lot of things we don't need. But that would make a future playthrough much easier. Most of the difficulty is about being patient and accept that we have to discover the level first. Obviously, I have to admit that sometimes there is a bit of execution too, but since the game allows us to save manually without any limit, we can always save scum until we succeed the execution part. I'd argue that save scumming is almost an essential part of the Death to Spies series at this point. Let's now get back on track and complete this mission. Right where we took the permit and the uniform are 2 soldiers, keeping guards to 3 other rooms. 2 of these are useless, but we need to get into the third one. My solution? Violence. We'll butcher these fools and drag them in one of the rooms before someone sees us and transform us into Swiss cheese. We'll find the safe that we'll lockpick to obtain the ciphertext. We still have to find these explosives, and sure enough they are located in the restricted warehouse. I searched for a while to find a way to enter that warehouse, and as I was about to go gun blazing, I noticed that we can push the barrel on the side to distract the guard, and then lockpick the door. The timing is tight, and there are 2 locks to pick, but we'll do it. Inside, we'll find the dynamite that we so desperately needed, but also the third explosive spot. To distract the guard and escape the warehouse, we'll use another smoke bomb. The rest of the mission will be a walk in the park, since we already have access to the 2 other bomb sites without any problem. We'll escape from where we came, and we'll even have the luxury of putting back our starting clothes.
There's been an accident. More than one piece in play. You're the one they're after. Get out of there!
Next mission is called Shefferd. This time we'll visit the USA to extract an agent arrested by the FBI and fake his death. On the paper it sounds like a hard task to do, but it is in fact one of the easiest missions of the entire game. I'd argue that the last one is even easier though, but we are not there yet. We start the mission with a body decoy that we'll use to fake the agent's death, but for now, we'll leave it there. This map is once again pretty small, and while there are many houses, only a few of them can be entered and have a purpose. We'll quickly find a house being renovated by workers. We'll find our first disguise here, and we'll progress to the roof. Here, we'll find a crane that we can lower, just in case we need to lift something without anybody seeing it. Let's get out of this house and head further down the street. We'll notice that the milkman is allowed inside the FBI house, where our target is located. We'll stalk him until he reaches a house. He'll ring the bell, but nobody will be there to open the door. Too bad. Next to the trash can he goes. To enter the house, we need to be frisked, and weirdly enough, the agents won't fire at us if they find weapons, but instead just tell us that we cannot proceed. We'll throw everything that could be considered a weapon behind the house, close to an open window, and come back for another frisk. This time, he'll let us in, but will follow us everywhere to be sure that we do not do anything inappropriate. I guess he won't pay enough attention, as when we reach the kitchen, we'll overturn the cabinet, which will lead to the two people in the dining room to come clean the mess. The dining room is now empty, and a perfect spot to subdue our newfound friend to steal his disguise. We'll throw him through the window and hide him in a box behind the renovated house. While we're here, we'll sneakily carry the decoy from the car to the crane, which is only a matter of timing. We'll also fetch a gas canisters from the back of the neighboring shop. Obviously, that lady won't give it to us, and we need to sneak in to get it. We'll place it on the crane with the decoy. Before coming back inside, let's not forget our weapons. With our brand new costume, we'll be able to access every single level of the FBI house, although the last one will be filled with yellow stance enemies, which means that we'll have to be careful. We'll hide in these toilets. Only one person ever come here, and we'll deal with him nicely. We'll grab his key and wait until no one looks at us to enter the opposite room. If we were to be seen, the enemies would automatically turn red, and you'd be surprised how many people they stuffed in this small house. I counted 16. 16 without the guard asleep in the box and the civilians. As we meet with the agent, he'll prove to be resourceful and use a plank to connect the FBI house to the renovated building. I'll eventually try to place the decoy and the explosives before leading the agent to security, but it doesn't work. We first have to lead the agent to our car and then come back to finish the job. Pretty impractical if you ask me. Being with the agent will cause suspicion from everybody at all time, but he himself can run into their face, he won't really trigger anything. To make it simple, he is just some kind of debuff for us, basically, and therefore, leading him to the car won't be very difficult. We'll breeze through the renovated building way too quickly to be recognized, and since most enemies are on the other side of the map, we'll just need to slowly pass through this fence, and everything will be fine. Now, we'll go back through the renovated building to place the decoy and the explosive in the room. But let's not make the mistake of bringing the decoy first to the other side, as there is a script leading to the plank cracking. We'll first need to carry the gas canister, which won't trigger the event, and finally, take the decoy last. When everything is set in place, the room will explode, and Semyon will cross the plank one last time for it to completely break. When that happens, we have to be quick, as if we do not jump, we'll fall from the rooftop and die. If you think that we'll be chased or anything like this, then I regret to tell you that you're wrong. We're getting out of there without any problem. The next mission is called Renegades, and for the first time will be deployed on a Soviet-controlled territory. Our objective will be to prevent a sabotage, capture 3 German spies, and before that, surveil the intelligence group without being seen or making any casualties, as it will prevent our allies from rooting out other traitors helping the spies. We still have to be careful, because even if we are around allies, nobody knows about our mission, since it was proven that there were traitors in our rank. Therefore, we'll be relatively safe, but still have to act in secrecy, and people won't help us. Quite the contrary, we probably would be shot down if we were found doing something inappropriate. This is an extremely slow-paced mission, that feels like a remake of the camp mission in the first game, coupled with a slight bit of the bridge one. but without the difficulty spike, as it is the easiest mission in the game. We'll also have access to a high-ranking Soviet uniform before starting the mission, allowing us to move around the camp more easily and to give orders. We'll start out in the wild, following a group of 3 soldiers, going for a meeting in an abandoned house. After a while, we'll see a cutscene where the leader of the Spies is given the sabotage plan. We'll then continue to follow them as they walk to the nearby village, which takes a while, so we'll put our uniform while waiting. We'll also appreciate the beige graphic filter in this mission, making it look slightly more colorful while keeping it old school. This isn't the first mission to do that. The 4th and 6th mission called Dora and Shefferd were also this way, while the others had a more greyish tone. The reason could be that the greyish mission were against the Nazis, and the beige ones against the Allies, but it doesn't hold up, since we're also fighting Nazis in this one. I do believe instead that the reason lies in where the missions are located. Dora, Shefferd, and Renegades happen in UK, USA, and Ukraine respectively, which are Allied-held territories, while Lightning was located in occupied Czech Republic. King's Riddle happened in the city of Danzig, or Gdansk as it is known nowadays, in the year 1944. During that time, Danzig was part of Nazi Germany. As for Whitehead and Polish Surprise, these are located in occupied France and Poland. Who could have guessed? So the filter is most likely only related to whether or not we're in a hostile territory, and to make Nazi-controlled area uglier, darker, and colder, while the Allied-controlled ones always seem more inviting and colorful. I like it a lot. When entering the village, they finally will start to split up. It's now time for us to act. The first one won't take us long to capture. He'll isolate himself, and while there are a few villagers around, none will hear nor see us. We'll hide his body in his basement, where nobody really goes. The second one will be the leader of the group. He likes to read on his bench, but a group of soldiers working nearby is bothering us. Remember that since we've been given a high-ranking uniform, we can now give orders to other soldiers? Well, we'll tell them to leave, and work somewhere else. Now that the crowd is smaller, we'll just need the right timing. We'll drop his body in a box nearby, but not before taking the plan informing us of where the sabotage is gonna take place. The last remaining spy will have a boat accident. Is he dead or alive? I have no idea. I'd be more inclined to say dead, but out of the 3, only the leader was absolutely mandatory to keep alive. We could deal with the 2 others however we see fit, even though capturing them was preferred. Now that we've dealt with all of them, we'll have to prevent the sabotage of the bridge. There are 4 bombs on that bridge, no enemies in sight, and no timer, to my knowledge. It is probably the single easiest objective in the entire game. After this, we'll report to the headquarters inside the village, and the mission is done.
There's a new item on the menu. The duck is in its nest. Same tree as before. Jack.
Yes, that was the last mission of the game. I'd like to tell you some big revelation about the story of the game, but it's very cryptic and end roughly the same way as the first game. Semyon had a nightmare during the first game. The stranger, instead of trying to kill him, leaves a letter under the door, probably leading to the death of the guy in the first cutscene. The letter read, "There is a new item on the menu. The duck is in its nest. Same tree as before," which could be translated to, "You have a new target to execute. He's currently in his hideout. Same apartment as before." Later on, Semyon discovered that there are classified files about missions he has done in the past in a drawer. In a later cutscene, Semyon receives a phone call.
There's been an accident. More than one piece in play. You're the one they're after. Get out of there!
I have to admit that I couldn't understand the first few phrases that were spoken, so I changed the language to Russian in order to read the subtitles. It says that there has been an accident, there's more than one piece in play, and that he is the one they are after. Do not ask me who is they, I do not know. There will then be another 10 cutscenes with another door. I guess the developers like them. And that's about it. We'll see what will happen in the third game. There are only 7 missions compared to the 11, if we count the tutorial, of the first game, and that's no big deal. Remember that in the first game, some missions toward the end felt more like filler, with uninspired objectives and too little interactions. Here we have a lot of change from a mission to the next. Every map feels different and unique in their own way. But we also have a difficulty curve that is completely whack, with the first 2 missions being the hardest in the entire game, while the last 2 are some of the easiest in the entire franchise. Still, I would just like to point out that the missions in Death to Spies Moment of Truth aren't hard the same way they were hard in the first game. Let me explain. In the first game, many missions had a simple structure, but the execution was tough due to how clunky the game is. If you'd ask me to replay some of them, I would still struggle to complete them in a good amount of time. In the second game, most missions are much more complex and require to explore and find the right angle to progress, with the possibility of using violence as some sort of cheat code. Violence was mandatory in the first game. If you'd ask me to replay the first and second missions of Death to Spies Moment of Truth, I'd complete them in a much shorter time frame than it would take me to complete the easiest mission of the first game. The first game doesn't forgive mistakes in execution, while the second one is much more about knowing where to go. Once you know where to go, you'll be breezing through the missions. Exaggerating, obviously. The second game isn't that easy, but compared to the first one, well, it kinda is. Now, some people will argue that Death to Spies, first of its name, is hard for all the wrong reasons. And I do not claim to have all the answers about everything. I'm just some random chap analyzing video games on the internet. But if people find some joy in a game, man, I sure did when I played it, then there are no wrong reasons. Games can be challenging, unfair, clunky, and still be enjoyable. It just means that most people won't find joy in them, that's all. In that sense, Death to Spies Moment of Truth is a better game, as it will be easier for people to feel less frustrated, but there is joy to be found in both games.